This is the inside of the 2020 Auto Sleeper Nuevo. If we firstly come to the main control panel, we can turn the 12 volt on just here. Once we've done this, we can turn the water pump on. The water pump needs to be on so we can get water out of the taps, fill the boiler and flush the toilet. Beneath this we then have water levels, so we can see how much water is in the fresh tank and how much water is in the waste tank. After that we have power levels, so we have condition of the leisure battery, condition of the vehicle battery, the current ampage of the battery that is active, the mains current coming in, and what the solar panel is doing on the roof. Main isolator switch for the majority of the lights. These can then all be individually turned on and off via their own switches. We then have awning light, battery selection, so L for leisure, V for vehicle. Whichever battery is active on here is the battery you are using to power the back end of the motorhome, and this is also the battery that is being charged via the main supply if you are plugged in. Along the top here we have external temperature. This is just letting us know that we're hooked up to main supply. This then gives us the humidity and the internal temperature. From time to time a little sun will appear, and that is whenever the solar panel is active. If we now press the cog, this will bring up all of the settings menu. So we have battery settings for both the leisure and for the solar. It's best to leave them in smart, and they will literally just charge the batteries as they are required, so it basically cycles. So at the moment you'll see that the leisure battery is currently being charged by the main supply and the vehicle battery is being charged by the solar panel, and then after a period of time they will then swap over and then swap back again. We have automatic tank fill here for the whale filling system. So if you are going to be using the whale collapsible hose to fill the motorhome, you need to make sure that this is active to make it 12 volt live on the outside to allow the solenoid to allow water in. This is a fully winterized motorhome, so both the fresh and waste tanks have heaters, so if you are using the van in extremely cold climate you can pop these on to avoid any frost damage. After that we then just have lighting settings. So at the moment when we turn the power on, the main lights will come on, the awning light will not. You can have it so no lights come on or just the awning light, etc. It's just down to personal preference. After that, key beeps on and off, water level alarms on and off. Set the brightness of this backlight and how quickly this screen times out when it's not in use. Set your time and date, and then we go back round again. Beside the main Auto Sleeper control panel, we then have the Truma control panel for the heating and the hot water. If we now press this button here, we can turn it on. Once we've turned it on, again it will let you know if you have main supply connected with the little picture of the 2-pin plug just here. And you will now see as I rotate this button, these icons will begin to flash. So if we start with this first icon just here, this is for your heating. If I now click on it, heating is off. All we now do is we just rotate the button and pick a temperature we would like it to be inside the motorhome. Click to store it in, and you'll now see a little flames appeared just above the icon. That little flame there just represents the heating system, and it's just letting you know that you've set a parameter. Whenever the heating is actually in operation, the little flame will begin to flash, to let you know. It will continue to flash until the temperature that you've asked it has been achieved. If we now move across to the next icon, this one here is for your hot water. And again, if I now click, we can put it into eco mode. So that will give us a water temperature of about 40 degrees. We can put it into hot, which will give us a water temperature of about 60 degrees. And we can also perform a boost on the boiler. The boost was mainly designed for if there's going to be more than one of you having showers in quick succession of each other. If you do perform the boost and the heating's running, the heating will turn off as it needs that extra power. After heating and hot water, we then have power settings. So at the moment we are using mains electricity using 2 kilowatts. If we rotate the button, we can lower the power consumption to 1 kilowatt, which is extremely handy if we're on a low amp site. We can use a mixture, so we can use the gas supply and mains electricity at 2 kilowatts if we have both power sources available to us. This is extremely handy, especially in the winter months if it's extremely cold. It will only use gas as it's required. Then we have gas and mains electricity at 1 kilowatt. And then we have gas on its own. Next we have fan settings for the heating system. So at the moment it's in eco mode. What we can do is turn the fan up to high if we want to. If we now drop to the lower icons, firstly we have a basic timer. So what we can do is just rotate and pick a time when we want it to begin, and then we can pick a time when we want it to end. Once we've done this, literally just pick what you would want on within that timer. And then lastly, turn the timer on or off. If you activate the timer icon will come up in the corner there, and then within that time period those settings will apply. If I now return to it, I can turn the timer back off again, and it will then go back to whatever it was on before. After timer, we then have clock, and then lastly we have the settings menu just here. So we have offset, which is just for the thermostat just here. If you don't think it's quite correct, you can just tweak it slightly. We then have temperature, whether you prefer it displayed in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Brightness of this screen, 12 or 24 hour clock. Language, index, which is more for the technicians in the workshop, it just lets them know what software it's running. And then lastly, full factory reset. From time to time, these units will throw up error codes. For example, if I now turn off this control panel just here, this should throw up an error code. There we go. It's just letting us know that it's lost 12 volt because I've turned the control panel off and they are linked up. If I now turn the power back on again, it should then disappear, which it has done so because we've rectified the problem. 9 times out of 10, as long as you do this, the error code will disappear. And they will usually be relatively basic. I've lost main supply, I haven't got 12 volt, I have no gas. If it is a gas code, you will have to wait about 15 minutes before the error code goes out. This is a safety feature. The Truma system can also be controlled via the Truma app. If you are going to use this, you will need to come to the overhead locker here and to the iNet box, which is just located up here. Firstly, download the Truma app onto your smartphone or a tablet. Once you've done this, make sure the Bluetooth is turned on that device and then launch the app. Once the app is launched, follow the on-screen instructions. Firstly, you'll need to press remote control, and then it will then ask you to press the Bluetooth button, which is up here. this will send the Bluetooth signal out, and then you will be able to connect up to the app. You will then be able to control your heating and your hot water locally via Bluetooth. If you want to control it from further afield, what you can also do is pop in a pay-as-you-go SIM card. The SIM card slot is just here where my finger is. It does not need to be an expensive SIM card, as it only uses text messages. Next, we have the hob and the extractor fan. Light just here, fan just here. Hob itself, so we have the electric hot plate which operates just here. Do be careful. There is no light or anything that comes on to let you know it's in operation. Next we have the gas rings, and that is literally just push in, twist and push the igniter. Beneath that we have the grill. Again, just push in, twist and push the igniter. And then beneath that, the oven. This motorhome does come with a safe. Next we have the Thetford fridge freezer. If we turn the unit on just here, this is an automatic model, so as long as we are on A for auto, it will find the best power source it can for you. So because we're currently hooked up to main supply, it's put us on to mains. If I now went outside and pulled that mains lead out, it would then automatically attempt to fire itself up onto gas. And then as soon as we start the engine of the motorhome, it will then automatically go over to 12 volt maintain. As you can see, the screen will go dark after a few seconds, so it's not annoying you at night time. Just tap the on and off button to bring it back up again. We can take it out of auto, so we can manually put it onto mains, manually put it onto 12 volt maintain. We're going to get an error code at the moment because the engine isn't running. And we can manually put it onto gas. Temperature control just here. Open just here. And then we have the freezer box above. And then unit back off again just by holding in here. Above this we have extra worktop, crystal glasses, the isolator switch for the microwave. The microwave will only work when you are hooked up to main supply. This particular one does not require a microwave plate. And then we have all the normal stuff. Easiest, we have instant start just here, cancel, but then we have all the power settings, etc. just here. If we now come across to the washroom, all of these lights that are dotted throughout the motorhome are touch. So we have the Thetford toilet just here. To open to the cassette, just slide the lever here and then push the flush just here. Do make sure the water pump's on or it will not work. And then we have the level indicator just here, which will rotate round to red when it needs emptying. Basin and shower just here. Swing wall. As we slide this across like so, for the shower, and then we just unfasten the shower screen just here. Wardrobe. In here we have the freestanding table and the smaller table and pole, which just locates into the hole just here. Also in here you will find the gas isolation taps for the cooker and hob, fridge and heating and hot water. Up in the corner here we have the digital amplifier for the max view television aerial, on and off just here. Control the boost just here. And then also in here we have the Huawei built-in Wi-Fi center. So with this, it's just a matter of turning it on just here and then literally searching for the Wi-Fi on your phone. It will come up with a little Wi-Fi password there, and then it's basically pay a subscription for motorhome Wi-Fi. If we now remove the cushions from this bench seat just here, and we now lift up, you'll see underneath here that we have the location of the leisure battery and the consumer unit. So we have the trip switches just here. So we have the individual MCBs, the main RCD and test button just here. So if something's not working on main supply, this is your first port of call. We then have the 12 volt fuses just here. So again, if something's not working on 12 volt, just check to see whether or not you've blown a fuse. They are all numbered up exactly the same as the MCBs and will correspond in the Auto Sleeper handbook. These fuses just here are labelled up, and they are more for bits and bobs on the outside of the van, like marker lights, etc. Along the top on the consumer unit we have isolator switches for components that use main supply. So this one here is for the heating and hot water. If you turn this one off, you will get an error code if you try to run the Truma system on main supply. It can really stay on. This one here is for the battery charger. You want this one on because you want to be charging both vehicle and leisure when you're hooked up to the main supply. And this one will illuminate if you have reverse polarity connected to the van, which you can sometimes get in continental countries. The boiler itself is located underneath here. You can gain access to it by taking this drawer out if needed. But to drain it down for winterization, it's just done here. These particular drain valves are automatic. So if the temperature inside the motorhome drops below about 3-4 degrees, this blue button here will automatically pop out and it will drop all the water out the boiler to frost protect itself. You can manually drain this. All you do is literally twist this blue diamond here, which will allow this to pop out, and it will then start draining down. You can then leave it like this. When it comes to filling the boiler back up again, twist the diamond back into the position it's in now, and then push the blue button back in to lock it into place. Fill up your fresh water tank, turn on the water pump, and it will then begin to prime the system back up again. If, as I said, when it auto drains and the blue button pops out, all you need to do is push it back in to reset it. You do not need to touch the top part. If it will not stay in, it's just too cold in the van, and you will need to run the heating for a bit to warm it up to allow it to reset. Here we just have the water pressure valve. So if when you're opening the taps and then closing them, you're getting a lot of pump overrun, or what's known as pump shudder, you can slightly adjust this. Only do it very, very slightly. Do not turn, because they only need a very fine adjustment. If we now just pop the cushions back on again, And now just come across to the other side. As you can see, we have storage underneath here. We can gain access from the outside on the locker door just there. Beds in this model are nice and easy to make. If you're going to use 2 singles, you need to rotate the chairs round like I've done already on this one just here. You just use the little red lever just there, slide it into position. You can raise and lower it on these levers just here to your liking. I then personally will still pull slightly out and drop the back cushion like so. If you are going to have it as a double, the front seats are not required, and it's just a matter of meeting both bench seats in the centre and then dropping your cushions in. I personally flip the cushions over because they're a little less lumpy bumpy. But as you can see, you get a decent size double bed. Carbon monoxide alarm just up here, and the smoke alarm is just here. Obviously no different than in your house, just check them from time to time to make sure that they are working.